The sun dipped low over the rugged Texas-Mexico border, casting long shadows across the parched landscape. For decades, this stretch of land had seen its share of violence and desperation, but tonight, it would bear witness to something entirely different. Deep within the hills, a group of men moved like phantoms, dangerous and elusive. They were cartel enforcers, hardened criminals responsible for countless atrocities south of the border. Now, they had crossed into the United States, bringing their brand of terror with them. Unbeknownst to them, someone was watching. Someone who had once fought for his country in distant lands. Someone who'd seen enough death to last a lifetime, but couldn't stand by while innocent lives were at risk. That man was Jack Callahan, a retired Marine and decorated war hero. When the cartel's violence spilled over into his homeland, Jack knew he couldn't turn a blind eye. He was about to embark on a mission that would blur the lines between justice and revenge. Jack Callahan sat on the porch of his modest ranch house, nursing a cup of black coffee as the evening breeze rustled through the mesquite trees. His dog, Shadow, a loyal German shepherd, lay at his feet, ears twitching at every sound. It had been 5 years since Jack had left the military, but the scars of war were still fresh. Out here, on the edge of nowhere, Jack found solace in the quiet. But tonight, that peace was shattered when his phone buzzed. Sheriff Tom Reese was on the line. "Jack, we've got a problem," Reese said, his voice tense. "A group of cartel guys crossed over last night. We think they're hiding out near your property." Jack's grip tightened around the phone. "What do you need from me, Sheriff?" "Just keep your eyes open. We're spread thin, and these aren't your average criminals. They're dangerous, armed to the teeth." Jack hung up and looked out at the horizon. He knew what he had to do. He wasn't about to sit idly by while predators roamed free on American soil. The next morning, Jack loaded his old pickup truck with supplies, water, ammunition, and his trusty M4 carbine. Shadow hopped into the passenger seat, his tail wagging with excitement. They drove out to a remote part of Jack's land, a place where the terrain was rough and unforgiving. It didn't take long to find signs of intruders, tracks in the dirt, discarded cigarette butts, and the faint smell of campfire smoke led Jack to a secluded canyon. He moved quietly, Shadow at his side, until he spotted the cartel members. There were 5 of them, huddled around a fire. Their conversation was in Spanish, but Jack didn't need a translator to understand their intentions. They were planning something bad. Jack watched them for a while, taking note of their weapons and demeanor. These weren't low-level thugs, they were experienced killers. But so was he. Jack returned home and began preparing for the inevitable confrontation. He fortified his property, setting up makeshift barricades and laying out a plan of attack. He knew the cartel wouldn't stay hidden forever. Eventually, they'd come looking for resources, or worse, victims. As night fell, Jack sat on his porch, rifle in hand, waiting. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional howl of a coyote. Shadow sat alert at his side, ears perked. Then, movement in the distance. Jack raised his binoculars and spotted the cartel members approaching. They were cautious, moving in a staggered formation, weapons at the ready. Jack took a deep breath. The hunter had become the hunted. The cartel members reached the edge of Jack's property and paused. They knew they were being watched, but couldn't pinpoint where from. That's when Jack made his move. A single shot rang out, striking one of the men in the leg. He went down with a scream, and chaos erupted. The remaining cartel members scattered, returning fire blindly. Jack moved with practiced precision, using the terrain to his advantage. Shadow stayed close, barking to distract the enemy. One by one, the cartel members fell, each shot fired with deadly accuracy. When the dust settled, only one man remained. He was the leader, a cold-blooded killer known as El Lobo. Jack approached cautiously, his rifle trained on the man. "It's over," Jack said. "You're not going back across that border." El Lobo sneered. "You think you can stop us? There will always be more." Jack tightened his grip on his rifle. "Not on my watch." The next morning, Sheriff Reese arrived with a team to clean up the scene. He found Jack sitting on his porch, Shadow at his side, the rifle resting against the railing. "Hell of a job, Jack," Reese said, tipping his hat. "You saved a lot of lives." Jack shrugged. "Just did what needed to be done." As the sheriff's team loaded the bodies into trucks, Jack thought about El Lobo's words. The cartel threat wasn't going away, but neither was he. This was his home, and he'd defend it with everything he had. Shadow nudged Jack's hand and he smiled, scratching the dog behind the ears. "Come on, boy, let's go home." In the weeks that followed, Jack received countless messages of gratitude from the local community. He became a legend, the man who stood up to the cartel and won. But Jack knew his fight wasn't over. The border was vast, and the threats were endless. He began training locals, teaching them how to protect their land and families. His ranch became a fortress, a beacon of hope in a dangerous world. Jack Callahan wasn't just a veteran, he was a protector, a guardian of the border, and as long as there were threats to his homeland, he would be there to face them head-on. The cartel had made a mistake crossing the border. They hadn't counted on facing a man like Jack, a man who had nothing to lose and everything to fight for.